Hey, no, I did not give up. I know it's been quite a few months since my last becoming a tattoo artist video, but quite a few things have happened. It's been so long that feels like I'm gonna be starting completely from the beginning. I have the perfect solution to get me started from scratch, total beginner stage, because today I'm gonna practice tattooing on paper. And that also brings me to today's sponsor, Illumino Heart Ink. Illumino Heart Ink is a brand focused on people that want to learn and practice tattooing, so they created these 2 packs of cartridges. And what is special about them is that they actually are ballpoint pens. They come in 2 packs, one including 6 cartridges, 3 black and 3 blue, and the other one has 10 cartridges including 5 colors, 2 of each. The cartridges are designed to practice tattooing on paper without the need of fake skin, and also even for artists to just practice their ideas. And that makes them so cool because fake skin can get pretty expensive, and that way even more people can try out the feeling of tattooing and practicing their hand speeds and movement while also figuring out shading techniques. And that makes the world of tattooing even more inclusive and approachable in a safer way, and I just love that. I will have the links in the description box if you would like to check them out, and also include my discount code Calliope. Now all that is left for me is to actually figure out what I'm going to tattoo on paper and also check out a bit the paper texture, because I believe a smoother paper will work a bit better.
Explain something.
It is the next day. I made these sketches on my iPad. I have to make a few changes and see how I'm going to do the shading and everything. But now I'm just trying to figure out what papers I'm gonna use. I have a few here. This is the hot press paper I'm thinking of using. It is the Artist Hot Press watercolor. I also have the cold press, and even though I prefer a bigger size, I don't know, I believe the hot press will be just so much better. I also use a markers paper. I really like this paper because it is kind of transparent and it helps me to transfer designs from paper to paper. I will show you exactly how. Basically using it as a tracing paper. And then I also have these cold press by Fabriano. Again, this is textured, so yeah, I don't think I'm gonna choose it, but I will try everything out and see actually what works best. And inside here I have the graphite paper I use to transfer my designs from paper to paper. This is the place where I'm actually creating my art studio. I have started creating a studio space in our living room because, you know, I'm gonna be practicing tattooing, and also I always wanted a separate place and just not be always in my bedroom drawing and creating. I'm slowly trying to do a whole makeover, and this is actually a mirror I brought. It is not dirty. It is so old that all these marks won't come out. I'm quite excited because even though this is a place that I cannot fully decorate and redo as I please, because this is my mom's living room, so she has so many decoration, as you can see. She has a really strong taste in decoration, and even though I really appreciate it and I admire her so much, some stuff are a bit too much for me. The design I made is actually inspired by this vase I chose to have in my desk. This is what I mean when I say I really love her style, but I would be more selective when I would, you know, incorporate it into my own style. So I really enjoy going around the house like a treasure hunt and finding little pieces all over the place. And this vase with these dry flowers is something that I really do enjoy, and I have it here on my desk. In this whole process of learning to tattoo and practicing, I'm always thinking about what style of tattoos I really enjoyed. And I know in the start I'm just gonna have to do whatever, you know, comes to me because I have to practice, and I cannot be that picky when it comes to creating the specific art style that I want to do on tattoos, but as I'm practicing, I am wondering what style would I be happy to do. And for some reason, I always end up doing something like this vase with all these ornaments, and of course something that has to do with flowers. And now having a chance to use your tattoo machine with ballpoint cartridges and actually also try to practice your tattoo style without having anything to worry about, messing up fake skin, because also fake skin can be pretty expensive to have. So having paper to practice on makes it so much easier for you to explore and experience the tattooing process. So it's not just about your ability as a tattoo artist, but also your ability to grow as an artist and figure out what you like in tattoos and what you don't. And I think this is so cool. I have placed all my tattoo stuff in this drawer because I needed a place just dedicated for that. On the first one I have gloves and all the stuff, mostly everything that I'm using to practice tattooing. I'm trying to keep my practice supplies separate from what I would use on human skin. Then on the second one I have my tattoo machine and some inks and stencil and other little things. Just caps, stencil paper and just wrapping paper. You are seeing me setting up my desk because in the instructions, Illumina Harting recommends putting several pieces of paper underneath the drawing sheet or even a fake skin if you have, to absorb any extra bounces of the pen. And because I do have fake skin from real skin, I will be using one piece. I am using a wireless tattoo pen by Dragonhawk, and I have been using this machine pen since day one and I have been loving it. It is the Mass Lancer with a 4.2 stroke, which means it is on the stronger side. Usually tattoo artists prefer machines with a lighter stroke for smooth shading and a more realistic approach, because a smaller stroke means it will hit softer. I think it will be just fine. All we'll have to do is just have a softer hand and movement. They suggest gently applying pressure and using your machine, if possible, at 5 or lower voltage. I also decided to do a very light wrapping of my tattoo machine and create my usual grip to practice while having it set up as I would usually do. To test on the papers and see which one I will use and to just have the first impressions of the cartridges, I will be using the black one. I took my gloves out because I really don't think I actually need them, and so I can be a bit more comfortable since, today we're practicing on paper. And here we have the hot press watercolor paper, then we have a regular printer paper, then the cold press more rough paper, and lastly the marker really smooth and thin paper. It was so long till the last time I held my pen machine and felt the vibration, so I truly didn't even know how to hold it. One of the best things during those practicing sessions will be me constantly changing my grip and trying to figure out how to hold it and what suits to me. While testing the paper, as I have imagined, the hot press smoother paper worked a bit better, but honestly, all the papers could easily pass. Even the cheap printer paper could work just fine for line work and practicing. The good thing about using a thicker paper though, it is its durability, and it will be able to handle shading and passes a lot better, giving you the chance to work on smoother shading, since the printer paper you could already see the marks on the backside. I was really impressed with the process. It is honestly such a nice way to see exactly what your hand speed incorporated with the machine speed means to the traces you are leaving with your ink. You can see how the dots become more intense or lighter according to your speed on the surface, and this is how real ink on human skin would also be. So in the end, I actually decided to go with the Fabriano cold press paper because I wanted the larger size, and after testing it out, the surface wasn't too textured, it was pretty good even though it was cold press. I still believe a smoother paper would be better, but pretty much you can practice on any paper, even cheaper printer paper. Then I placed the graphite paper between the two papers to do the final transfer on the thick and cold press paper. I did all this because the cold press paper is quite thick for me to see through while tracing and using the iPad as a light box. Hey, good morning. I just woke up and got myself some hot matcha tea. It is another day. I'm still rocking my little braids. I'll send you to show you my favorite lemon cake. It is so good. The first time I inserted the cartridge into my machine, it wouldn't start. It was almost like it was stuck, and I have experienced this again while using needles. And just now I figured out that this happens because I need to not let the point hang out too much. I need to twist the machine and bring it in before pressing the on button. And also I found it very useful to have a test paper beside me to sometimes just warm up the ballpoint or even test the angle while rotating it, because since this is a ballpoint pen, sometimes the ink will not flow the same all around. At first, I was pretty scared on how I should move the machine and still adjusting my pressure and speed for lining or then for shading. But after about an hour, I got into the flow and started realizing how the ballpoint was behaving. And it just got easier and easier. What I love about the ballpoint cartridges was that I was expecting it for it to be extremely different from practicing on fake skin. And even though it was, because with the ballpoint cartridges you cannot practice needle depth, that is something really important while tattooing. At the same time, it had a lot of similarities. That proves that they actually are a good option for practicing. I could still see when I slowed down my hand speed too much while trying to pull a line, and that created darker spots, meaning probably a blowout if I was just using fake skin. So it was visible when I made a mistake and stayed too long on a spot or I was too harsh on the paper. It was also a great exercise on the eyes because I was training to be able to see my sketch, so in other occasion it would be my stencil, and it was a great exercise for me to be able to see through the moving point. As someone who is just starting out and practicing tattooing, I always find it a bit hard to follow my stencil or a line because I almost can't see where my moving needle is and where that point will actually touch the surface. Also, it was a great exercise to practice stability and to give yourself the time to see what way you feel more comfortable pulling lines. Taking the time to breathe and relax through the process and see in action how this will improve your line work. Sometimes you can get too stiff by how focused you are on creating smooth lining that you will forget to breathe, but synchronizing your breath and shoulder can be really effective. Now that the lining was done, I moved on to shading. Using a ballpoint cartridge is like using a 5 to 7 round liner. The main shading techniques you can use is stippling or dot shading. The main rule is speed. The faster you move your machine, the more space the dots will have between them, so the lighter the shading will be. And the slower you go, the more compressed the dots are, so the area gets darker. I just try to keep that in mind and then adjusted the pressure and weight of my hand. Stippling is a technique that needs a lot of practice and patience and maintaining your hand in the same height through your movements so you don't get random darker spots. I was able to create some really smooth shading by being super light on the touch, but I do have a long way to go. And nonetheless, this was a really satisfying way to practice. I then switched to red color for some extra depth and to test out how the colors will blend. And in the end, I'm just so happy with the whole practice session and with the fact that I now have an art piece to hang on my wall. It was so much fun practicing this drawing, and I know that it doesn't seem really beginner friendly. It was pretty complex, I'm not gonna lie. I was trying to figure out how to position myself and my hand to create all those curves and symmetrical stuff that it has. But I need you to keep in mind that I am a professional artist, so the drawing aspect of tattooing comes a lot easier to me. But for the next video, I think it's gonna be super cool if I create some beginner friendly exercises, just straight lines, circles, and shapes that will help you also to warm up and figure out how to create smooth lining and shading, and having a printable version that you can also just print out and practice alongside with me. It will be so much fun. Once again, thanks so much to Limuna Harding for sponsoring this video and just helping me out in my journey of becoming a tattoo artist. I will have all the links in the description box down below, including my discount code Kayopi. Thank you so much for being here and just giving me the space to be creative and try new things and just give myself a chance to follow my dreams. And I really hope you're doing the same for yourself. Till next time, have a super duper day. Bye!